Joshua Cribbs turns disaster into a score!
Ugly, misformed little creature who has no purpose here, no meaning.
I am a human being.
Washed it down with 1 beer, 2 beers, 3 beers, a shot of whiskey, a margarita, and a Bloody Mary. And I said, Stone Cold, why have one when you can have them both?
Swung out and drilled! Deep right center! Away back! Gone for Tony!
Irving and Curry, one-on-one. Irving puts it up.
It's good! Kyrie Irving from downtown!
Senator Hillary Rodham Clinton?
Awful.
How is she awful?
Hates freedom.
And now, Any Given Podcast with your hosts, Brendan Ward and Ethan Simpson.
Iguodala to Curry, back to Iguodala, up for the layup! Oh, blocked by James! LeBron James with the rejection!
I just had to get that in. Just had to get that in.
I appreciate it.
Of course. Well, I love these moments in radio because, and I've brought this up a few times. I don't know how many people know that my second job, essentially, when I get out of here, most of the time, whether it's I'm doing the night shift when we were doing our afternoon show, whether I'm doing the morning shift, when I get out of here during the morning, I actually go teach some of the sports students over at the Ohio Media School. I went there back before I got a job at WTAM 1100 and came over to Fox Sports 1350, The Gambler, and wherever I'm at iHeart. I was also a student of the Ohio Media School, so it's always cool to kind of go back there and see where other people were at the start of my journey and help them get to try and get to where I'm at, and even to heights above where I'm at right now, where we're all trying to go. And I got a couple of my former students here who actually have their own podcast. I've been on it once before, but just big sports fans, big Cleveland sports fans in general. I'm going to get them locked in here because I'm bringing them both in. So that means I have to at the same time I'm talking, actually make sure I don't hang up on either one of these guys.
Double.
Absolutely. I think they're locked in here. So we've got Brendan and Ethan here. Guys, how are you doing?
Doing great. It's a fantastic day. Glad to be talking to you and Jake. Crossed paths with Jake a little bit at OMS as well.
Absolutely. So who's talking to me right now?
This is Brendan.
Hey, Brendan. How you doing, man?
I'm not
that is bad. Brendan. Brendan kind of cut me off.
Yeah, what's going on? What are you cutting Ethan off for?
I didn't hear him.
Say I'm first, but
so, I'm really glad that you guys could join me today. I mean, it's kind of like a weird time in sports where we're like 11 days before Browns training camp. The Indians just came off of the All-Star break, had a great weekend, taking 2 out of 3 for the first time in what is it now, 7 years, since 2014 in Oakland. So there's a lot going on in the sports world, but and we're going to get to that. But before we get to that, for both of you guys, I know that, and I've been on your podcast before, I want you guys to give a little plug for your podcast because both of you guys do a great job. You both are huge Cleveland sports fans, or just sports fans in general, and you get into a lot of different topics on your podcast. So I wanted to give you guys a little bit of a platform, a little time to kind of tell people where to find you and what you guys talk about.
All right. So, Brendan, you want to do the just the finishing to the podcast?
Yeah, absolutely. We currently do a podcast called Any Given Podcast. You can find it. When you find it, you're going to find the logo. Ethan created it. It's brown and orange. It's a beautiful logo. You can find us on Twitter at Podcast Given, on Instagram at Any Given Podcast, Facebook.com/Any Given Podcast. Our YouTube doesn't have the greatest URL yet. We got to get the subscribers.
You got to get that up, man. It's all about the content in all the different places.
Yeah, exactly. We got to get the subscribers up there so we can get our own URL at the end there. Right now, we just have the YouTube URL that they give us. But as soon as you see our logo, just type Any Given Podcast in the search bar. You'll find us. We've got over 50 episodes. We talk about just about anything you can think of in the world of sports over the last week. We recap. Last week we talked about the Suns taking the 2-0 lead. This week on the docket, we're actually going to record a little later today. We obviously, we've got the Milwaukee Bucks winning 3 in a row. Like you said, the 2 or 3 for the Indians this weekend over the Athletics. What we've got for them going forward. The Kevin Love news with the Olympic team. Just anything that's hot, not only in Cleveland, but we try to stretch it out to like national things as well. Morikawa winning the Open yesterday, I'm sure we'll talk about today. We have a passion for sports. You taught us pretty much most of what we know. We spent a lot of time with you, and we just try to put everything we learned into the podcast. And it's really one of our passions. Right now we do it for free. And we just love it, and it's something that
absolutely
we really want to bring to different fans, and we're very happy that you gave us this platform to tell a lot of people about it.
Of course, I love seeing. That's the one thing about sports, and then so I tell all the students is that no matter where you are, if you're lucky enough like me to get a job at a place like iHeartMedia or wherever it is throughout the country, it's all about just keeping at it. It's all about no matter what's going on, no matter where you are in the process, just keep going. And that's I know you guys are at it on a weekly basis, and you guys. You give the people what they want. You give them that content. So it's at Podcast Given on Twitter. Check them out. The podcast. I've been on with them once before, and I think I told you guys I want to be on again. So I'm patiently waiting over here. I'm not trying to like force my way on or anything like that. I would never try and do that. But obviously,
hey, Chris,
what's up?
What are you doing later today? You want to be on the podcast? You want to talk about the finals?
Thank you so much for asking me. I would love to do that.
Yeah, you want to be on the podcast?
Let's go. Let's absolutely do it.
Absolutely. All right, we just booked it.
Live booking on air.
We'll be on the podcast.
Yes. No, but all kidding aside and all funniness aside, that you guys do a great job. But now, with all of that, I need one take for you because we got Steve Dorshek coming up here in about 5-6 minutes. So I need one sports take. What is the biggest thing in your world right now, Ethan? We're going to start with you.
Francisco Lindor getting injured. I love it.
You love it.
It makes me happy. It makes my heart happy.
Come on, you're such a hater, Ethan. You're such a hater. Is it really all his fault that he had to go?
No, it's not. But he took all that money. He could have stayed. He could have taken that cut from his paycheck, and he could have been the greatest Cleveland Indian ever. But no, he wanted to go to the Mets. So you know what? Him hurting his right side of his torso. Oh, hoo boo boo boo. There you go.
Well, there you go. And Brendan, what's on your mind? What's the top sports take on your gourd right now?
With us being 11 days away from training camp, my early prediction comeback player of the year, Odell Beckham Jr.
There you go. You think he's going to play all 16, or I guess all 17? I need to get used to that. You think he's going to play all 17 this year, Brendan?
I think he'll play about 14.
Ooh, some more injuries in the not so distant future here, according to Brendan. Well, guys, I appreciate you both coming on. At Podcast Given is where you can find their podcast on Twitter, and I'll be talking to you guys shortly.
Thank you very much.
Sounds good.
Thanks, guys. That was Ethan and Brendan, a couple former students of mine, and they're on the grind, man. They're on the grind. A couple of young and up and comers in the industry, and doing what they love to do.
Hello, guys. Welcome on back into Any Given Podcast. As we told you before the break, we were going to go ahead and welcome one of our former instructors, currently working with iHeartRadio. I'll let him tell you more of the specifics on that because I don't know him 100%. Chris Beeble, welcome to Any Given Podcast. Welcome back to Any Given Podcast.
Yeah, it's nice to be a returning guest here. This is like probably one of the few podcasts I can say that I've been a returning guest to. So yeah, it's good to be on with you guys again.
Absolutely, we always love having our favorites back. Ethan's family business, the Kent Stage, they kind of pride themselves on favorites. So we learned that relationships are key. So. Yeah. Favorites of the show or something.
Well, I Kent Stage is a favorite of mine. I don't know if I mentioned this the last time I was on, but I'll mention it again. My dad actually did play. He doesn't anymore, but did play in a Pink Floyd tribute band that came through the Kent Stage at least once a year. And I have to say, and I'm not just saying this because Ethan is here, although it is kind of funny that Ethan is here and he is part of the family that owns the Kent Stage. Literally the best venue I've ever seen my dad play in. And that's just bar none. So it's an awesome place. Like I know that you guys did some renovations. I saw. Over the pandemic, so that's gonna be awesome. I can't wait to check them out.
Yes, we have. And hey, I wish you were here.
There you go. You can't see me. You can't see me, but I'm clapping. Maybe you can hear me. I'm going to golf clap for you on that one.
Oh, I know your dad's band. I think after your father left, they decided to nail a signed poster to the wall of the stage, which, that I checked it. There was no Beeble on there, so
that doesn't sound like something my dad would do. Yeah, no, I can imagine that. Yeah, that doesn't sound like something my dad would do, so I guess I'm glad that he wasn't a part of that.
Yeah, I checked when me and Brendan were both we were in sports emphasis, and I checked it, and it was like Beeble, no. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
It's been a little while, but It's always interesting running a music venue. I'm sure that's among all the things that's happened within those walls. I'm sure that's one of the tamer bad things that's happened.
I mean that might be the least craziest thing to happen at a music venue. I mean, how crazy it is. You get these crazy acts. It goes one night from somebody in the Rock Hall to another night, somebody just starting out that has a big following.
Right.
So it's one night, you get Todd Rundgren, and then the next night you get Kingfish, He's got a big following. He is fantastic, but he's not Todd Rundgren. He's not in the Rock Hall, but he is a fantastic artist. I love him. I love him dearly. We have met multiple times, but it's you never know. It's a toss-up.
Right. No, that sounded like, because I was in a band when I was in college. I played the guitar. And that's kind of the same way I felt when I went through the grog shop. Like, how many cool acts have in the history of the grog shop in Coventry come through that place, and here my horrible ass guitar player is up there with my band of buddies that we've been playing music for a year or two at most, and it's just man, I'm doing this no honor, this cool venue, no honor being up here on this stage. I'm sure the guy that the artist that you were just talking about was 1,000 times better than me in the band that I was in. No disrespect to if any of my bandmates are listening. Well, you know how bad we were back in the day. So, but yeah. Yeah, that is funny. I just can't wait to get back out. I don't mean to derail here because I know you brought me on to talk sports, but I'd love to give a shout out to Kent Stage because that place is awesome.
Hey, Kent Stage. That's that's my dog's bread and butter there.
Absolutely.
We actually
Kent Stage reopening July 30th.
There you go.
We
Get out there, people.
We actually don't even call it derailing anymore on our show when we get into extended conversations about the Kent stage, because I currently work with them as well. So, like, we're always talking about it. So, like, if you watch it consistently, you'll see we tend to have these 5-10 minute conversations when we're really just coming into it to promo something or a different show, that because they're announcing shows left and right now. Well, I'm announcing shows left and right now, so it's pretty fun. But yeah, we did bring you on to talk sports because that's kind of the name of our game. That's where you work. That's what you work in. So yeah, absolutely. More specifically, kind of Cleveland sports, NBA Finals. We're gonna get into that because it's kind of the biggest thing happening right now. We're, like you said earlier on the show, we're in that crazy time in sports. Not quite yet football, ending basketball. Baseball is kind of just getting back into it after the All-Star break. But the Indians, winners of 2 of 3 over the weekend in Oakland over the Athletics. You actually gave me a stat I didn't know earlier. First time in over 14 years that's happened. Or in 14 years that's happened.
It wasn't 14 years. It was since 2014.
Since 2014, okay.
So still, what, 7 years? That's still a long time.
I mean, and as much as they play all over the place, it's crazy to think that even 7 years, because baseball is anybody can win any given day. Sure, better teams win more games during the year, but baseball is really any given day somebody can win.
Hey, Brendan, would you say almost like any given podcast?
Yeah, that's kind of what I was going for there with the any given.
See the similarities.
Yeah, but with the trade deadline coming up, because we are only 11 days from that happening, Friday, July 30th, 4 p.m., are the Indians buyers, sellers, or do they stay stagnant?
I mean, if you look at them and what they've been able to do, right, if they can only get healthier from this point. I mean, yeah, sure, like guys can go down, but you can never bank on that happening, and you never know when something like that's going to happen, obviously. So if you look at what they've been able to do, I mean, even though they had that, what was it? It escapes me now. Like, was it a 10-game losing streak that they went on? I think it was a 10-game losing streak before the All-Star break. That really took them out of the division. That division contention with the White Sox, and the White Sox are just a better team than them overall. So it was not surprising to see the White Sox kind of get that separation in the division, but they're still right in the thick of things with the wild card. I believe they're only within about like 2 or 3 games of the wild card. So that's the thing when you bring in this second wild card, this play-in game that they play at the end of the regular season, it makes it so that almost every team that's not a bottom feeder, like every team that's not the Pittsburgh Pirates or the Baltimore Orioles, they're just in contention at this point. So it makes it really, really tough to make that decision about whether they should be buyers or sellers. And it all comes down to ownership. I mean, whether or not they're going to be willing to take on any kind of salary, because that's the problem that they're running into over this past offseason. They cut so much money, and we heard these kind of like, well, that might give them some opportunity to add at the trade deadline. So okay, then add then show us that you're going to add. I think that this team really, you at some point you get back Shane Bieber. You get back Aaron Savale, hopefully 100% healthy and no setbacks or anything like that. You already got back Zach Plesac, who's been, thank God they got him back. I mean, seeing some of the names that they were trotting out there, they're still trotting out there. I mean, they've been okay. The JC Mejias of the world, who's on the mound tonight, they're already down 1-0 as we're recording this podcast. It's in the bottom of the second. The Cal Quantrells of the rotation, the Eli Morgans, like these guys are not guys who you or even on anybody's radar coming into the season as potential starting options, at least in high leverage situations, and they're taking very, very high leverage spots because nobody's healthy. If you get back those 3 guys, you can compete with anybody. Might be an underdog, but you can compete with anybody. So in my mind, in a perfect world with full ownership cooperation, they should be buyers, because this is not an old team that's looking to like sell off. It's not like the I can't remember the year, but like the 2016 or 2017, or maybe it was 2015 or 2016 Royals, where everybody was coming up on contracts, and Eric Hosmer ended up going to the Padres, and all those guys. Like, they knew that they had a window, and then they had to blow it up because everybody was gone. This is a very, very young team, and they're still right in the thick of things. Who they add, I don't know. That's the tough question right now. Is what position do they add? They're getting some production out of everywhere. It's not consistent production out of every single position, but they're getting production out of everywhere. And they have so many outfielders that, as a young team trying to figure out who they're going to keep and who they're gonna jettison, because a guy like Bradley Zimmer doesn't really have many more options left. If you're going to bring in somebody to replace him, you're pretty much just saying, hey, we're done on him. We've given him all the opportunities. We're not going to bring him back. So yeah, that to me is the interesting part, is who's available and where you're going to put them, because they have a lot of options everywhere. It's just, where are you willing to make those sacrifices to? This option at this point is not good enough.
Yeah, see, that's one of the things. So speaking of the trade deadline, that was one of the things I wanted to bring up.
Sure.
Do you think they get rid of Eddie Rosario? Do you think possibly they get rid of Cesar Hernandez? Don't get me wrong, I like both of them, but if you want to make a move, do they do that? Do they, and if they do get rid of those two, do they pick up a minor league player like they always do, like in classic Indians fashion? Pick up a minor leaguer?
The Eddie Rosario thing, to me, yeah, he hasn't been necessarily as advertised as we thought he was going to be. Like, we thought he might be a cleanup type hitter, like somebody that's going to go right in there with Jose Ramirez, with Franmil Reyes, and be like the third cog on the wheel. And he really wasn't that. In terms of his power production, in terms of he wasn't getting on base a lot. Even when he was getting on base, he wasn't drawing a lot of walks. He has an on base percentage under 300 at this point. So yeah, I can see the point at which you maybe say that's something we need to improve on, but at the same time, like, they have so many outfielders right now. They're trying to figure out what's going on with Mercado. Zimmer has been coming on a lot over the past few weeks lately, and he had a really, really big game the other day out of the leadoff spot. So, maybe that's something you experiment with. Harold Ramirez is one of the most important bats in this lineup out of nowhere this year, and he needs a spot. I guess with Josh Naylor going down, that's a point where they're going to miss him for the rest of the year. So that was a very productive bat that you're going to miss. Yeah, I wouldn't be opposed to upgrading the outfield, but Eddie Rosario, I don't know. Like, he's got a track record. So if I think as the year goes on, gets a little bit healthier. I don't necessarily anticipate them moving on from him, especially because they spent a little bit of money on him. They didn't spend a whole lot of money, but they spent whatever precious dollars they had this past offseason, they spent on him. So I don't necessarily see them moving on from him. The interesting part that you brought up was Cesar Hernandez. He's been not good this year, like at all. So whether that's the $1 million question out there is, what is out there at second base? What is out there at second base to replace him? I really don't know what that market is like right now, and it's gonna take somebody significant to really upgrade from him, because once again they invested capital in him. He has a track record, even though he hasn't been very good this year. I just think the Indians are in this like weird spot right now where, what are they? Is one single move to replace Cesar Hernandez or put somebody in the corner outfield? Is that really going to say, oh man, Now they can compete with the White Sox. Now they can compete with the Red Sox. Like I just don't see that one move. It's going to have to be a collection of guys that you're not putting a lot of stock in, getting hot at the right time, kind of like what the 2016 Indians did, Like there wasn't one move that the 2016 Indians could have done to like catapult people's expectations high up, like way higher than we thought that they were going to be. They just kind of gelled as a unit at the right time. And, when you have a team built that way, like how I think the 2021 Indians are built, I think that's just what's going to have to be. I do think they'll bring in somebody that, like that platoon type guy, or in a specific matchup, like we saw somebody like a Brandon Geyer years ago being brought in specifically because they wanted to shore up their matchups against lefties. I feel like it's going to be a minor move like that. I don't think that the fabric of the roster is going to be shaken up.
Yeah, I can totally agree with that. Like you were saying,
it's a boring answer, but yeah, it's just that's where I feel on it.
Yeah, absolutely, and like you were saying with the 2021 Indians, that's a tough question, but I would rather have Cesar Hernandez 2020 career more than I would have Jason Kipnis. His whole career, just the 2020 year with Cesar compared to Jason Kipnis, to where he was gaining weight, dropping weight, gaining weight, dropping weight. I would rather have Cesar.
So we have, not only were you hating on Francisco Lindor today, now you're gonna hate on Jason Kipnis.
Yeah, I mean,
dude. I know.
I know. I'm just busting your balls.
It's no love lost with Ethan, man.
We almost have 60 episodes, so if you want to hear me talk shit about all these guys, I will. Because I will.
Yeah. No. Hey, I have a lot of more trust in Cesar. Yeah, towards the end, Jason Kipnis was not a playable baseball player. I agree. I love Jason Kipnis. He was probably the closest guy when he was good, when he was making all-star teams. He was probably the closest I ever came to buying a jersey with somebody's name on it. And I've learned to not do that. Because especially in this town with this baseball team, you can't get close to anybody. So I agree with you there. I have faith in Cesar because he was so good last year, but maybe moving him down the lineup is a good thing. Because and it's one game, and you try not to be too results oriented because of one game. But Bradley Zimmer, I mean, the complexion of that lineup, even though they didn't score a lot of runs, the complexion of that lineup looks a lot different if you actually have somebody that's going to get on base and be a terror on the base paths. And I don't know. Cesar Hernandez is being at the top of that lineup. I don't think that it's necessarily like there's a correlation, in my opinion, there between the inconsistency of the offense and having a guy at the top of the lineup who just does not do a good job getting on base.
Yeah, I can totally agree. And you saw what Zimmer did last night. So yeah.
Finally.
I don't mind him being the leadoff. Not at all.
They just had to shake things up. Like you said, Cesar's just been off, and are undoubtedly probably their most consistent player last year.
Sure.
So it's kind of discouraging. Lastly, on the Indians, like you said, they've kind of been pitching all these guys, JC Mejia, the random guys. Are you worried about the state of Indians pitching beyond the top three guys this year who are out?
I'm not necessarily worried about the pitching because as long as we don't have a freak year again where all three of your top starters go down, I mean, like how often does that honestly happen? Like that's just not going to happen on a year-to-year basis. I will say this. I know this is not necessarily like what you're asking in this question, but this is kind of like relating to a problem that we've talked about ad nauseum as Cleveland fans, Cleveland media. I mean, this is just a topic that's never ending, and it relates to not only I mean, sure, the ownership comes into it, but really it's a problem throughout baseball, is that look at what the Indians have jettisoned in their rotation over the past few years. Now, maybe we dodged a bullet with Trevor Bauer with, all the stuff that he's going through right now. But, if you're looking at it from a pure baseball standpoint, you get rid of guys like Corey Kluber, Carlos Carrasco, Trevor Bauer, and Clevenger. Yeah, I almost forgot his name for a second there. That's what waking up at 4:00 will do you. Mike Clevenger. So 4 of those guys. Now you can say, okay, Corey Kluber is a man made of glass. He can't pitch anymore. Okay, fine, I'll give you that. Trevor Bauer. Okay, yeah, you may have dodged a bullet by not signing him to a big contract. But when you develop these guys, right? Like the Indians either developed these guys or made great decisions to target them very young in their careers. In other organizations like Trevor Bauer and bring them in, and they develop them into Cy Young type pitchers. That happened for nearly all of those guys. I guess you can make the argument that Carlos Carrasco was never close to a quote unquote Cy Young pitcher, but he was very, very good 2 or 3 in this league for many, many years. When you have to get rid of all of these guys because of money considerations, while they're all still like very good pitchers, with the exception of maybe Corey Kluber, who was at the end of his rope, that's going to have ripple effects throughout your organization. That's going to have ripple effects throughout your rotation. It's going to, the depth, you had depth. When you had guys like Savale, Plesac, Bieber, when you had those guys in the minors, and you had that depth, you could look at 1 through 5 and say, wow, if any of these guys go down, we're just going to have somebody who's going to be an absolute ringer coming up here and filling their spot. And we absolutely, it paid off in dividends over the past 3 or 4 years. Up until now, we're paying the piper for all of the moves we had to make because Major League Baseball doesn't have a system in place where smaller markets or maybe just owners who don't want to spend like it's an actual hobby. Like we look at like Dan Gilbert and Mark Cuban and those kind of owners who are not necessarily, at least Dan Gilbert for sure, but like Mark Cuban and Dan Gilbert, those kind of owners, they love the game that is being played. They love the sport for the team that they own, and they want to be the best. And there's no stone unturned financially for those kind of owners. And whether or not they're good owners or not, you can debate that, whether they make good decisions. I'm not saying that they do or they don't. What I'm saying is that the Indians have to make all these decisions, jettisoning all of these pitchers, and now they're stuck in a spot where if you do have a freak year where 3 of your top starters goes down, you used to be the pitching factory. Now you have a bunch of guys who you're really just, you're barely scraping along, and it's amazing to me that they are.
Well, what about Tristan McKenzie? How do you feel about him?
I think he's going to be really good. Just a young pitcher that, I think we're kind of, what's the right word to use here? We're kind of, we're used to seeing guys come in, like, for example, I'll keep mentioning their name, I'll keep being a broken record, like Bieber, like Savale, like Plesac. Did those guys have any kind of growing pains coming up whatsoever?
No.
Essentially, no. Not really.
Well, Plesac did.
Sure, maybe a little bit.
Clevenger lied to the whole team in
I'm saying like
2020.
Yeah. Well, that was because Plesac is not very smart sometimes. Let's just be real about that. He's not very smart.
He has tattoos. So anybody with tattoos, I do not trust. I'm sorry, Brendan.
A hot take.
Don't trust anybody with tattoos.
Well,
a hot take.
Can't hate. You can't hate if you can't get in the club. Yeah. So.
Well, you can't get into the club I'm trying to get into, and that is a traditional Jewish cemetery.
There you go.
I don't meet the criteria, anyways. So here we are. But moving on from baseball, basketball has kind of been the highlight of the last week and a half. With the NBA Finals going on, the Milwaukee Bucks currently lead 3-2 after winning 3 in a row, stealing the first road game of the season away from the Suns in Game 5. Can the Suns force a Game 7 here? And if not, where did it all go wrong for the Phoenix Suns?
Yeah, I hope that they can force a Game 7 because this has been one of the more entertaining finals, in my opinion, that I've seen in quite a long time. I really like this, and we benefited as Cavs fans in this city by having LeBron for that stretch of years where it was Cavs Warriors. That might be fun for us. Well, I mean, it was mostly not fun when we were getting beat by the Warriors, but that 2016 year was so great, at least for me and a lot of other people, that, it's fun to be the team that's unbeatable until you get to the finals, but it's not very fun from a visual standpoint for everybody else. And to have two teams, this is the cool thing about this finals for me. If the Bucks win, Giannis gets that first championship, Drew Holiday gets a championship, Chris Middleton gets champion. Like, all great players, all players I love to watch. But the start of probably many championships for Giannis. That's cool. If the Suns win, Chris Paul finally gets a championship. That in and of itself, extremely cool. I like Chris Paul a lot. I think he deserves to have a championship just based on his skill level alone. He just hasn't been on quite the right kind of teams and really he hasn't played in the right era because of all the. You're trying to do. There you go. Get the Chris Paul. I see what you're saying. Does that work? I see what you're doing.
I was trying to do.
The C was backwards, but yeah, that's fine. That works for me. There you go.
C P.
Yeah, there you go.
Does that work?
That works for me, man. Works for me. I like Chris Paul a lot. Yeah, I there's just something. There's something about the Bucks. If they can get the kind of production that they've been getting out of Holiday and Middleton, like I think that's where it comes down to it. Like if Giannis has the pressure taken off of him and all of his weaknesses, not being a great outside shooter, all of those. If he's not exposed in that way and he's getting help where he doesn't necessarily need to be leaned on for just like the bulk of all of the scoring. Because you can game plan against a guy like him and maybe not stop him. It's kind of like the old LeBron syndrome, right? You can't necessarily stop LeBron, but if LeBron's teammates aren't helping him out, you can game plan a game plan defensively to bug him and make it harder for him to get into a rhythm. And when this Bucks team offensively is firing on all cylinders like that, and he's getting the kind of help that the championship level teams will get from their role players. I mean, they're nigh unbeatable. So I think you can tie down this series to it's just to me a lot of Middleton and Drew Holiday getting going.
Yeah, excuse me. Ooh. Yeah, that's what it seemed like. The Greek Freak, Duncan going crazy, Drew Holiday. Chris Middleton going crazy. But like Devin Booker. I don't know why I said
the Butcher.
I don't know why I said Butcher. Devin Booker, he put up 40 points on Sunday. So where is CP3 at? Like you were saying, where's CP3 at? Where is he coming into this equation?
Yeah, I don't know. Well, see, that's the thing. I just think it's more about the Bucks getting going than it is about, because I think the Bucks are a better team than the Suns. Like it's just, I think the Bucks are just a deeper squad, and they have the best player on the floor. So I mean, like Chris Paul, I don't think he's necessarily been bad. I just think that we all expect humongous like eye popping stats. And Chris Paul to me is just. He's that typical old school facilitating type point guard. He just has a lot of skills when it comes to putting points on the board as well, and not that facilitating an offense that doesn't cause a lot of turnovers, because his assist to turnover ratio that's one thing people when I say Chris Paul's underrated, somehow people will look at me and say, what do you mean he's underrated? How could that possibly be? He's literally one of the best assist to turnover ratio guys in the history of the NBA. And when you're talking about late into the playoffs, like the finals runs, like that kind of stuff is magnified, and not having a bunch of turnovers and not having your guy. I mean, look how many times did we see late in 2016 or specifically late in 2016 where Steph Curry he just kept turning the ball over. I mean, they passed the ball a lot. It's not like he was the only one with the ball in his hand, but when your main facilitator is turning the ball over a lot, then that is a bad thing, and great teams will falter because of turnovers. So yeah, to me, it's more about the Bucks getting going than that. But I do think you did bring up Devin Booker being great. I mean, that's a stat for you right there. I think I saw this on Twitter about how, like, the first guy in NBA Finals history to score 40 points in back-to-back games and lose both games. That's tough.
Yeah, absolutely. And Brendan, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. So
I just wanted to say that is Chris now canceled because he's going against our Suns? The Suns are the official team of Any Given Podcast. That is our team.
I love the Suns. Nothing would please me more than to see. Giannis has, like, what, 10? How old is he? Is he like 24 or 25 or something like that?
I think he's 26. I think they said that.
Yeah, he's somewhere in that area.
26.
I think this is like 7 or 8.
Okay, so that guy has at least, if we're going based off of how elite athletes, how they age into their prime nowadays, I'd say he's probably got at least like 8 more years of prime left in him, and that could be more than that. It could be.
Yeah,
could be. Not everybody's a freak like LeBron, but it could be. The Giannis is going to have plenty more opportunities. So I would personally like to see Chris Paul win it, but
I mean, technically, he is the freak, so he is a freak.
You're right. I misspoke there. That's a good catch.
But last question for you. You spoke about that this series kind of changed on Middleton and Holiday getting going. Does that mean Middleton is your Finals MVP?
Well, that's not going to work like that.
It should, though, right?
So I personally, and this is something that happened years ago. I couldn't even tell you what year it was. It might have been during the Heat years when I was like in my prime. I hate LeBron for leaving the Cavs. Just like everybody did back in when he was with the Heat. In my opinion, when you have, and I guess this is more for regular season stuff. It's not necessarily for finals, which I mean, I guess you can make analogs between the regular season and finals MVPs and all of that. But there was a point where I thought Carmelo Anthony deserved to be the MVP when the Knicks were making like the second round of the playoffs, like much, much more than LeBron James. Because if you look at the term valuable, right? Not the best player on the floor, most valuable player. That's literally like the name, like, because I think names matter, right?
Yeah.
So I do think that there is this room, in my opinion, this nebulous room where it doesn't always have to be the best player on the floor. Now, when you look at the kind of numbers that Giannis is putting up, I think it's hard to deny that, because I mean, without Giannis, that team would be a lottery team. And maybe they would be like an 8th or 7th seed at best. But I think it's hard for me to say that Giannis wouldn't be the Finals MVP, and then he is going to be the Finals MVP if they close it out and they win it. But yeah, no, I'm with you on the whole definition of MVP. I don't think it always should be quote unquote the best player on the floor.
So Chris, let me ask you this. So yes. I'm assuming that year was 2012.
That sounds right, somewhere around there.
So you thought Melo instead of Jeremy Lin. Sandy. That was when Lin Sandy was at the hottest.
I mean,
Sandy was awesome, but come on, it is Carmelo.
I mean, you kind of proved his point. Melo was limping to the second round of the playoffs with Jeremy Lin at point guard.
Yeah, absolutely. Lin was awesome that year. I'm not going to take it away from him, but let's be real here.
I'm just saying. I mean, Jeremy Lin. Everybody knew Jeremy. The only reason I knew Jeremy Lin's name is because of that season when he was with the Knicks. Yeah.
Better put respect on his name, man. He won a title with the Raptors.
I love Jeremy Lin, man.
Like I was watching The Sopranos.
I'm
Carmelo.
Nobody's going to be coming at me saying that I'm hating anything about the 2012 Knicks. That was a fun team.
Okay. Hey, speaking of hating, you called me a hater today.
Yeah, because you were a hater today. That's why I called you a hater.
Right. You're goddamn right. I'm a fucking hater. I will hate on Francisco Lindor till the day I die. You see my shirt?
I see it.
Hate on him until he reaps the fucking reward he gets from leaving the Indians.
I didn't say that I resented you for being a hater. I just said you're a hater.
Yeah. Hey, that's what I am. Ask Brendan.
All I got to say about it is once they get this name change, tune in for Ethan to just be mad for 6 months straight.
I don't necessarily want to go into like a big diatribe. I don't want to go into like a big conversation about this, so I'm just going to leave my comment at this. I say almost because I know I won't end up actually being like just kind of neutral on it. I'll probably have some sort of reaction to it either way. But the name Guardians is so bland and so bad, and it seems that is the favorite right now. I can't stand the Guardians. I understand what it means. I understand what it stands for.
All right, you're scaring my dog. Do you not understand why they call them the Guardians?
I just said I understood.
They're right there. They're outside of the stadium.
Right. And
I actually believe that.
What percentage of the population of Cleveland actually knows that?
10.
Like I would literally
that buys GVR shirts.
I would be shocked. I would be shocked if it was 10%. I would maybe take a money line on 10%.
Under. Okay. Yeah. I mean, yeah, I get it. I'm not a fan of the Guardians either. Like it's a travel softball team name or something like that. It's not a.
It's like double A. It's not even triple A. It's double A.
Yeah. It's cartoon logo.
I'd rather it should be called the Rubber Ducks 2.
The Rubber Ducks 2. No, that's that. Going from arrows to rubber ducks was probably the worst thing they did too.
Do you know why they're called the Arrows?
Why they were called the Arrows?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I would assume it was like some sort of like native tie-in. I guess I don't know the story.
No, because one of the biggest aeronautics place in the U.S. was in Akron. So aeronautics, the Arrows.
I always thought like the arrow was like some sort of weapon.
No, it was aeronautics.
Okay.
Arrows.
That makes sense. That's cool.
That is cool. Ethan, the president historian.
Like,
Akron's much more known for rubber, though.
Yes. Well, fucking call them the tires instead of calling them the
Akron tires.
The Akron tires.
Yeah, call them the tires.
Let's. That's almost as bland as Guardians. But
Guardians is not bad. I'm gonna sit here. I will stand here. Ethan. Here's the problem. I will say Guardians is great because it's right next to the stadium. Any real, true Cleveland, anybody from Cleveland will know that the Guardians are right there protecting the stadium.
Here's
protecting the highway.
I'm going to say my piece on this, and I'm going to let it go. The thing about professional wrestling, one of my favorite things. Well, I guess it was one of my favorite things. It hasn't been over the past few years, but that's a story for another day. One of the biggest things in a professional wrestler's whole gimmick and professional life is you either get the fans to cheer you or you get the fans to boo you. The worst place you can be is in that spot where they don't give a damn about you and they sit on their ass and they're quiet, right? To me, the Guardians is apathy. The Guardians is quiet. The Guardians is okay, whatever. I mean, it's not the worst name I've ever heard. I want to have some visceral reaction. I want to hate it and then learn to love it, or I just want to love it from the beginning. I'm never going to learn to love the Guardians. That's a boring, bland name. That's just my opinion.
I love the Guardian. You know,
I get it. You love it.
You've seen the picture.
I know the pictures. Yes.
Yeah.
The face.
Anyways,
I know it.
Anyways,
what's there to hate about it?
Hate about it? I wish I hated it. It's boring.
Differing opinions is why we get a chance to talk about it in this industry.
See that, Chris?
But you know, we can debate it all we want. It's up to owners and the decision makers to just kind of let us know. And like you said, we got to roll with it. Chris, thank you for everything you've done for us today on your show, on our show. Appreciate having you on. Great conversation for the last 40 plus minutes. Anything else you need to say? Anything you want to plug yourself? Now's the time to do so, my man.
Well, I mean, at least for the next few weeks here, I'll be filling in for Mark Munch Bishop over on 1350 The Gambler from 6A to 9A. We kind of rebooted the show in preparation for Munch to come back. So who knows when Munch comes back? I mean, he had heart surgery, so that's pretty serious stuff. So he sounds good though. For anybody who's a big Munch fan who's listening to this podcast, he sounds good. Probably be back sooner than later. But yeah, I'll be over there for the time being. And keep at it, guys. You guys are doing a great job. And like that's the thing that I don't know if you heard me mention it. I think it was after you guys, after I had you guys on. Like the one thing that I see from young people in this industry is that like when they don't get what they want immediately, or like they're not in the exact dream spot immediately, they give up. Right? It's really easy to give up. Really, really easy to give up. And like the coolest thing that I can say about you guys is that like you've just been fucking doing it. You know, like who cares? You guys love it. You guys do it. That's what it's all about, man. So like I really like it's cool. It's cool to like see students come through that I get to help out and teach, and like they just love it, you know, and they keep at it. That's awesome, because I see so many people who have talent like you guys that they just don't care at a certain point, and they just, or maybe it's not that they don't care, but they're not seeing the immediate returns, or I don't know what it is. They just give up too easily. You guys are going at it, so it's awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm actually a instructor assistant at Ohio Media School now.
Oh, nice.
So yeah, so I'm helping students, and I totally get it,
Yeah,
because
awesome.
there's students that want to be there, want to do it, and there's students that are like, whatever,
right?
So I totally get it.
Well, I appreciate when I have that.
You took a chance on us. What was that?
So that's why I appreciate students like you guys. Like it's as you can see, it's tough. It's tough when you have people that are there and like, maybe they shouldn't be there, or maybe they thought they were gonna like it and they don't, but they're sticking with it. Like, to have people with passion, man, it makes your job easier.
Yeah, absolutely, because it makes them happy and want to do, they want to do their work, and it makes me happy because I want to show them how to do it. That's it.
Right.
But sometimes it's not like that, and
yeah,
that's I'm still gonna do my job just like you.
Right.
And
yeah, man,
it just happens like that.
But the grind, I mean, I know like the grind is like a very overused, and I kind of hate it almost a little bit, because it kind of implies like, like grinding yourself to the bone to the point of like over grinding, but like there is a certain amount of, like what's out there is for me to take, and the only way to take it is to keep doing it until somebody can't deny you,
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. All right. So, So I'm on 2% on my laptop.
Yeah.
So,
Yes. Just ready the needle.
Yeah, we're
so we're
getting
gonna
down
cut
to
out of this. So
Pleasure, guys.